Harisa's first impression on me, she was talking about how men are like insects and how she wants to trap them and all that kind of stuff. My gut reaction is that she's not going to find love in this place. I feel like if you approach it like that, saying you want to trap someone, it's just like... she's not in the right place, and I don't even think she realises it. Like, I'm no expert on love or anything like that, but I am married to the person who is the love of my life, and I feel like... And you know, those of you guys as well who are in love and in a healthy and happy relationship, you will know that things like that, it's like almost like an immediate red flag. As small as it is, just that little anecdote, it's, you already know somewhat that a relationship isn't going to work out if you go into it with that approach. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's just a gut feeling. It's a visceral reaction, and that's not to say she sucks or anything like that, but I would almost bet my kidney on the fact that she is not going to find love in there, and if she does, it will be brief and it won't really last. But who knows? I could be disproven. Ali Jo was the other person who came through. She's from Jersey, and it seems like she butted heads last season and seemed to get into it with quite a few people. So immediately I was interested there because I love messy reality TV where there's arguments and fighting and all that kind of stuff. But I was kind of underwhelmed overall by Ali Jo. Maybe you guys tell me if I've got to go back and watch her previous stint, because her stint here left something to be questioned for. I was just a bit underwhelmed by her, but yeah, we'll see how that one goes if I decide to go back and watch what she did before. Immediately in the episode, it seemed like Brian was ready to jump ship. That was almost the focal point of the entire episode. This dude, he really seems emotionally unavailable. I've got pages full of notes right now, and half of it is just talking about how annoyed I am at Brian. It's like Zoe needs to wake up and realise that these dudes are just not into you and that they don't respect you. And I think the difficult thing about Zoe is I love her soul. I can see a good soul in there, but it sometimes feels like she just doesn't have that respect for herself, and she would do it time and time and time and time again without realizing it. And it's hard to find love when you're in that cycle. I'm sorry, Zoe, but Brian is just, it's like walking into a trap, you know? And the thing I don't like about Brian is when Zoe actually went to him to say, I've got some concerns, I want to talk to you about it, he almost shut down. It was just, he accused her of nitpicking for having emotions. Bear this in mind. Zoe has emotions and it's nitpicking. All she wanted to do was get you to say hi to her in the morning. I don't think that's that much to ask for. And then he starts going on the offense, and it's frustrating. That's the word that comes to mind. I mean, you can see in my facial expressions right now, I'm just like almost driving myself insane, trying to find logic behind the way Brian deals with things. Spencer clocked him at the end, and we're going to talk about that eventually. But to me, he just doesn't like it when somebody other than himself has feelings. And that's an epidemic. But Brian is fully fledged, just so full of himself, egotistical, and doesn't have any capacity for anybody else to have feelings other than him. Everything's very surface level, and like Spencer said, it was very, very cowardly. I couldn't quite believe the challenge that they did where it was a kiss sample. Like I said, I'm brand new to dating shows. I've only seen 2 episodes of The Bachelor in Paradise, this week and last. And this kiss sample thing, oh my word, the producers are so messy. They know exactly what they're doing with this. That is literally like stirring havoc up on the 2nd episode. Insane. I love it though, because it creates messiness. It creates that melting pot of people, and also exposes people. That's the most important part, because then you can start to judge these people more and see where the direction's going, because Dale kissed half of the girls that were present there in Paradise. I want to talk about Dale for a second, because I'm looking at this man and I don't buy what he's selling. Somebody in my comment section last week said, steer clear from Dale. And I thought to myself, I wonder why. Why would someone say that? Because I haven't seen much of Dale so far, but he doesn't seem like a douche. But my opinion's starting to change. And this is tough as well, because I don't want this to just be a whole thing where I'm going through and saying all the dudes suck, because when I'm watching a TV show, you know, I'm not a bro, but I love to see a cool dude there that I'm like, I like that guy. That's a cool stand-up guy. That's a nice guy. That's a nice man. And I don't know if the producers are just addicted to picking emotionally unavailable men. Tell me if I'm wrong. Like, just... Am I on the right tracks, guys? Those of you who've been in Bachelor Nation for a while, is there a trend here with the casting? Do they just pick douchebag dudes who don't know how to give room for other people to have their feelings? Because it feels like that's very much the case with almost all the fellas in this cast. That's why I'm excited for the Goldens to come in, because the old timers are probably going to be a bit more emotionally available and down for some fun, and that's what really excites me about that. Justin, I last week felt like it was almost like he was on constantly. I feel like it almost feels like there's a facade in front of him. It feels like he is being someone that he isn't. And I can see right through it. And I just don't get Justin. I didn't know who Suzie was until this episode, but I know she was discussed last week. But all I could tell, the only thing I coming out of last week's episode was, the only thing I had on my mind was, this guy is still in love with Suzie. I think I was proven right tonight. Can we talk about Alex for a second? That girl is a gem. She is such a gem. She is so quirky and funny and unique in that place full of people who are very superficial and full of themselves. I adore Alex. I want to see her find love. I really do. But the tough thing is, I don't think any of the fellas in there would be good enough for Alex. That's kind of how I feel there. Maybe as the season goes on, somebody else will come in that I'm like, okay, I like you. I'm just yet to see that from the casting. Spencer's the only guy where I look at it and I'm like, that's a guy I would hang out with. The rest of them, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good. Now, while I've been told that Jess is a villain in her previous season, I never would have guessed that, but you guys are really helping me find context and understand previous stuff. I am still really, really invested in Spencer and Jess. They seem like the most authentic couple in the house or in the paradise, and that, to me, goes a long way. I'm rooting for them. The bar is below the ground floor, but I want to see where that one goes. Dale said later in the episode that he and Kat have something in the house that nobody else has. Be for real, buddy. I am looking at Dale saying that and I'm just thinking, okay, are we forgetting Spencer and Jess exist? Or the fact that you had it off with for the ladies earlier? If you really have something so special with Kat, then you don't need to be snogging 4 other women. Make it make sense. Now, when Ali Joe decided to take Jonathan on a date, Parisa decided to take Brian, and they headed out to a bar where it was game night. Good for Brian. Children love playing games, so that was perfect for him. Later on, we were introduced to Jill. Now, Jill seems like a pocket rocket, and I love her. Her humour is fantastic. She is really unique and ditzy, and I love that. I just think she is so, she's wonderful. I like her energy. I like her vibe. I like her aura. I like Jill. She's fantastic. I think she's lovely, and that goes a long way for me. Humour and somebody who's down to earth is far and few on these kind of shows, and I put her into the same category as Alex, of just somebody who is actually being themselves, and I love humour. Humour makes the world go around, and it puts a smile on our face, and that's exactly what Jill's got. And it seems like Jonathan talked about Alex and said, I don't like how she uses humour as a coping mechanism, and then Jill said that she does the same, and it's weird. I don't get why all these guys are so nitpicky about the women when they've got so many issues themselves that they're just avoiding and projecting onto the others. I know maybe Bachelor in Paradise isn't meant to be this deep, but I'm just giving my visceral raw reaction right now as somebody who doesn't watch dating shows. I feel like it's just like like blaring me, and like alarms are going off in my face, and I'm just like, that's all I see. That's all I see. It's not even to me. This isn't. I'm not looking too deep into it. It's genuinely, I see this on a surface level, and I'm just like, wow. I'm blown away. If truth be told, I am just fascinated by the social dynamics and how different the women are to the men. And that's not to say all the women are fantastic at all, because there's also, I think a lot of the women don't even know what they want, just as the same as the guys are. But I think I'm getting more authentic and real, raw vibes from the women than I am from the men. Lexi brought up her concerns to Justin at one point, and he just blocked up. He just blocked up, and it almost felt like he started to project onto her and, you know, ask her like why she's asking all these questions. And it's like, because dude, you are so hung up on Suzie, and you are doing anything to not acknowledge it. That's what the facade feels like, and that's where I started to put two and two together, and I went, maybe this is why there is a facade. I feel like he's pretending to be enjoying the dating and then pretending to be over Suzie, when it's clear as day that man is still married to her in his head, even though they were never married in the first place. And then, lo and behold, Suzie showed up to Paradise. Wow. I'm sat with my partner, we're watching it, and we were like, these producers, they're looking for something messy to send Suzie in. And then I found out that Suzie only broke up with Justin 4 months ago. Excuse me, what now? Oh, brother, I didn't expect that. I was thinking, you know, maybe it was like a year ago, maybe 4 months. Wow, and both of them are parading around like they're now over each other. That ain't the case. That is not the case. And it was actually quite sad to see, because they clearly have something still. Suzie's past Jonathan. She's got, I think she's hurt, and she's still feeling things from it. But Jonathan actually is still like, he's with Suzie in his head. There's a weird difference there. And I'm sure we're going to see more of that play out due to that incredibly shocking decision at the rose ceremony. I can't wait till we start talking about that, because that was the first moment as a viewer of Bachelor in Paradise where I've jumped out my seat and went, what? Don't get me started. Now, in the next segment of my show, this is a segment that we call Dale is Full of Shit. He said, me and Kat have something better here than anybody else has got in here. Like I discussed earlier, are we forgetting Spencer and Jess exist? I'm not buying what this guy's selling. I don't know if Dale's popular in Bachelor Nation, so I could be going against the grid here and saying, like, I could be going against someone popular, but there's just something in my gut, and I've usually got a really good read on people. My intuition is pretty good, and I'm good at reading people, and there's just something there, guys, where I'm just like, I don't see the hype. I don't see what he's putting out. Doesn't feel real. I don't trust him. I don't think he has the people he's dating's best interest in mind. I feel like, again, like a lot of the other fellas, it's going back to him. Tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if I'm onto something there, but that's just my feeling. You guys will probably be able to give me more context on that because of the fact that you've seen him on The Bachelor before. I haven't. So I'm just going off what I'm seeing here. And what I'm seeing, I'm not buying. Now, while I've never seen Brian on The Bachelor before, I've seen enough on Bachelor in Paradise to know that this is a man-child. Zoe went to him with concerns and very valid feelings, and he turns around and says, you're coming on to me really strong right now. You're attacking and berating me. That's a man-child if I've ever seen one. Somebody who has never been taken to task in their life. Somebody who has never had to deal with accountability of hurting somebody or, you know, feeling other emotions than their own. I see right through you, Brian, and it's given man-child. Zoe finally turned around in her confessional and said, you are a piece of shit. And it was like the light bulb went off. Light bulb. It only took her a little bit longer than all of us were thinking as viewers. I assume everyone's feeling the same about Brian. But I don't like people who don't treat people with respect. I don't like it. And it feels like with Brian, he is just cowardly. Spencer hit the nail on the head when he said that. You know, like I said, I'm no expert in dating or in love, but I know somebody who isn't very nice when I see one. And that's not to say Brian is like the devil from hell, but he is somebody who, if he wants to date and he wants to actually find love, then he needs to work on himself, because the way he treats other people is not cool. When Dale and Ali Joe were talking to each other, I was like, are we in an echo chamber here? Ali Joe, says, do you think that opposites attract, or do you not? And Dale goes, I think opposites do attract, but I think sometimes they don't, and, other things can happen. Cut to Ali Joe. Yeah, I'm kind of the same, but a little bit different, where in the fact that I think sometimes opposites don't attract, but also they kind of do. I'm losing the will, folks. Now, when Suzie got to go on the date with Jeremy, I started to get the vibe that he was switching from Bailey over to Suzie. With Jeremy, I haven't got a proper read on him yet. I'm sure I will more as the weeks go on, but he hasn't been as out there as the other guys, so I'm seeing Jeremy as a bit more chill, but again, I'm not fully sold yet. Bailey, on the other hand, I'm going to be quite critical of Bailey. I feel like she is not making herself emotionally vulnerable, and it feels like I feel like this was shown in her intro package, but it feels like she's there to find somebody to take pictures with on her Instagram and not actually find love. That decision was completely through and through shown last week when she picked Jeremy. I believe it was over Kyle at the first rose ceremony. That was the moment that told me, okay, she's a surface level kind of girl, and she isn't really seeking a deep emotional connection. Maybe she thinks she is, but I think that deep emotional connection to her is rooted in who's going to appear on the Instagram feed. Jeremy feels like he's kind of teetering, and the fact that he even went on the date with Suzie, I feel like Kyle and her would have gotten to know each other more, and Kyle wouldn't have done that, and Jeremy actually seemed like he was contemplating jumping ship to Suzie. Now, while he didn't in the end, we're going to get to that, it definitely seemed like it was teetering. That one isn't going to last. Bailey and Jeremy, the cracks are already there. Like that one is going to crumble fast and hard, and just remember I said it on week 2. Parisa seemed worried if Brian was solid. It's that cycle, isn't it? Zoe couldn't get a read on him, and that was because he's emotionally unavailable. Parisa couldn't get a read on him because he's emotionally unavailable. And you know for the second that Parisa starts to try and talk to Brian about those issues, he's going to get shut down and he's going to run off to another lady. No! I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I just know I know I'm not the only one out there who is just sat here with their mind being turned into knots and pulled apart and just going. You just want to scream through the TV and say, "Stay away from Brian. He does not have your best interest in mind." Just like Spencer said, he wants to cop a feel, and the way he deals with the situations when people come to him with their feelings is cowardly, because he doesn't want to deal with it, because only his emotions have space in this world, not the person he's dating. Towards the end of the episode, it got very Justin and Suzie heavy. I felt like I was watching couples counselling when they were talking to each other, because it felt so raw and emotional that it came to I realised very quickly that they haven't healed. Neither of them have healed from this. They're both healing in different ways. I feel like Susie's healing from being hurt, whereas Justin, I'm sure you guys know the ins and outs of it. Please tell me, I'm interested. What's the deal with Suzie and Justin? How did it all go down? I get the impression Suzie is healing from being hurt, whereas Justin is healing from not having Suzie in his life anymore. Is that the right read? I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting, though. And when Justin started to tell Lexi that everything is okay with them and that he is still committed to making this work, I didn't believe it. but I thought maybe he would take the gamble. That's when, at the rose ceremony, he picked Suzie. And I realised that this man is the gaslighter of the century. That was difficult to watch. I feel like Lexi was bearing her soul to Justin. And he kept saying over and over again, day after day after day, that everything was fine, everything's okay, everything's fine, everything's cool. No, it's not. No, it's not. This man is still hooked on Suzie to the point where it kind of feels weird. He was saying he picked Suzie because they'd made a promise that they would look out for each other and protect each other. Bro, you're not even in a relationship anymore. I think it made Suzie feel so uncomfortable, and rightfully so. I was shocked. That was the moment I jumped out my seat and went, oh, poor Lexi. He put her through the ringer there. And talking about that facade I was talking about with Justin, it feels like the facade came down when Suzie came back, and then he was down in the dumps. To me, that just confirmed that facade was a facade of a man who was pretending he was ready for dating, but wasn't ready. And then Suzie came back in, and then it was just like a child pouting. And that was shown through and through. He's not ready, and I don't like the fact that he led Lexi into believing that they had something solid and that she was safe and that they were going to stick around together, for him to pick the ex, who I don't think really wants anything to do with him. This show is messy. Why is it taking me so long to get into The Bachelor, folks? I'm excited now to be a part of Bachelor Nation, and only 2 episodes in, I am seated and waiting for more. We're going to talk about the rest of the rose ceremony because there were some other interesting decisions. Now, we did get Spencer choosing Jess, saw that coming from a mile away. Dale chose Kat. That was reaffirming after all the stuff he talked about through the episode about how he felt like they were the most solid thing in the house, but then he proceeded to go and kiss and go on dates with whoever. You know, I was wondering. But again, similar to what I was talking about with Jeremy and Bailey, the cracks are there, and I think that will be over before the season comes to a close. And even if they are together at the end of the season, I don't think it will last long in the real world. Jeremy and Bailey, again, I was shocked. I thought Jeremy was going to switch up and go to Suzie, but that created a vacuum for Justin to do his thing there. Brian chose Parisa. Halfway through, probably at the beginning of this episode, I knew Zoe was going to be dumped. Because the difficult thing about Zoe is as well, like, as much as Brian was a douche, she didn't move on quickly enough, which is hard because matters of the heart are difficult to get over. And it's not really ever something you get over, it's something you kind of have to wrap into yourself and, I guess, grow from. That's kind of how I see it. But again, they hadn't known each other that long. But Zoe, again, I felt like she didn't really have enough self-respect for herself to pick herself up and go, okay, I'm going to go talk to somebody else and make another connection in here. She just continued to try and chase the people who didn't have any respect for her or didn't treat her very well, and that was sad. That was sad for me to see. Zoe, I really, really hope finds love on the outside world and goes on to great things, because I just see a great soul there, and I just think she's so lovely, she's so beautiful, she's somebody who wants to give her all to somebody who wants to give 10% back. But I'm going to miss you, Zoe, but at least you got a holiday out of this. Vacation, that's what Americans say. At least you got a vacation out of this. Jonathan chose Alex again. I thought for a second he might switch to Jill. But again, this is a man who isn't very happy with somebody who deals with things with humour. Again, Jonathan, it feels like a facade up. I'm not just saying this. I feel like, I don't want this to come across like I just hate all the dudes, but I can't be the only one in thinking that all these men that they've picked are just so... I feel like it feels like an act. It feels like an act so much with all these guys, and none of them seem ready for dating. Or not at least healthy dating. Casual dating, maybe. Healthy dating for the long game, not seeing that yet. But I do like Jonathan. There's a difference there. I don't dislike him like I dislike some of the other dudes. I like him. But again, I feel like the walls are up, and I just didn't like how he's talking about how he doesn't like people who use humor as a coping mechanism, when clearly there's a coping mechanism that's running him right now and how he's operating in Paradise. And the last one of the night, of course, was Justin choosing Suzie. I was shocked. Is this like a regular thing on The Bachelor? Let me put this book down, because I've got to ask y'all a question now. Like I said, I'm new to Bachelor Nation. Is this mess like something that happens all the time, where we see these crazy decisions and people walk off? Like Justin walking off set, and then Lexi walked off set. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, you guys. I can't wait for the next episode. And that feels like the perfect stepping off point to say thank you so much for watching, everybody. And wow, I am so happy to be in Bachelor Nation, and I am literally waiting for the 3rd episode. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'd love to know what everybody else's thoughts are in the comment section below, because I'm looking for context on previous seasons, and I'm looking to see if my intuition and what I'm thinking, am I on the right track? Somebody let me know down there, because I need to know if I've got a good read on what's going on. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. Make sure that you stay subscribed for every single week. I'll be doing Bachelor in Paradise breakdowns. You do not want to miss it. I'm also covering Big Brother 27 right now, so if you're a Big Brother fan, check that out. But folks, in the meantime, don't forget to stay safe, stay positive, and stay healthy out there. But don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that wonderful stuff, and don't be a douche like Brian. But until your next Bachelor in Paradise breakdown, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.